Okay, in this position, the answer is actually quite counterintuitive. We can see that white has displayed his queen to e1 and is currently up a lot of material and exchange as well as a pawn, with this pawn on e5 being extremely strong, trying to push. So okay, at first glance, obviously as black, we would try to think that we should not try to trade pieces here, because obviously if we trade pieces, white is just up an exchange as well as a pawn, and mm, it will just be too much for black to handle. But if we start to take another other glance, uh, and we start to consider queen into e1, we see a very clear win. After queen into e1, rook into e1 has to be played, then we can capture bishop into c1. After rook into c1, which is forced to be played, we can push d3. The pawn on e5 is currently stopped via our bishop on g4, and if something like e6 is played to distract the bishop on g4, we can keep pushing with d2, and the pawn on the e file is just too slow to actually queen. So it's actually very counterintuitive, but it is what wins the game. So queen into e1, rook into e1, bishop into c1, and rook into c1, d3.